Next question is directed to Hwa Beng. Since this is Easter, this question from Berkeley. You've been once quoted as saying that Christians in Malaysia should fight against political Islam while you were still in MCA. Now that you've moved on in your political career, as you shared earlier, how would you address this same issue? Should Christians still fight against political Islam? Okay, quite a controversial question. Okay, for Dato Saifuddin, there have been growing perceptions that the existence of endemic corruption within the cabinet. The NFC and Port Klang are just two examples. Both involve cabinet ministers. In fact, for PKFZ, it involves two cabinet ministers who are both being charged in court right now. But there's also been inaction on the part of MACC on other reported corruption, especially the many allegations targeted at the Chief Minister. But no action has been taken yet. So what is your response on this, and how do you convince us that moving forward the government will take a strong stance to dispel such corruption within the BN? Okay, and then the last question directed to Edward. As long as there's race-based political parties, there will always be race-based discrimination. And how will we see completely racial-based democracy in Malaysia? How do we achieve this? Maybe just to add on, I think there's also been some criticisms targeted towards DAP to say that although it is a non-race-based party, it's still dominated mostly by Chinese, and the support comes mostly from Chinese community. How would you and that actually skews the position of the DAP's policies towards more towards the Chinese rather than the other races? How would you respond to that? So let me start with Nik, and then move on to Edward, and then we'll close.
Thank you. Well, I think definitely the issue of equal access to media is very important. I mean, we've suffered for so long, and knowing how sophisticated voters are today, if we do not follow up with our promises of reform with regards to the abolishing the ISA, of providing equal access to media and all that, then we can confirm that we are a one-term government. So I think that will be our first key thing. For example, RTM should be like the BBC. It should not be the the organ of a particular party and all that. It should provide objective reporting of what's happening in the country. With regards to our policy of boycotting certain newspapers, I think the issue tends to boil down to generally Utusan, and to a lesser degree TV3. I think the problem that we have with Utusan is that the blatant lying that it promotes. I think that's our problem. It's not about bias. In the UK, you have Guardian, which is pro-Labour. You have The Sun, which is pro-conservative and all that. That's fine. I think we can all live up with that. But when you have a newspaper which totally distorts, which totally misreports and misrepresents what's being said, that's when we have a problem. That's why we don't allow. And we continue to allow other, in fact, UMNO-owned newspapers like New Straits Times, Berita Harian, which is not generous to us either, but which we feel is, they do not cross a certain line. That's our personal sense of things. I think Datuk Saifuddin himself has problems with his column with Utusan, and he's in the Supreme Council of UMNO. So that's my answer to that.
I think the question posed to me was actually a discussion in the tweet between me and Kian Ming. So the discussion and the topic posed to me was in a tweet debate between me and Kian Ming. I don't know whether this question posed by somebody in Berkeley or himself. What I did say was that as a Christian, that my God request my duty as a Christian is to fight against Islamic theoretical state. So basically, a lot of people misinterpret that must fight against Muslim. No, I think theoretical state So as a Christian, I still stand to what I say. But on hindsight, maybe I said in my speech earlier that I'm the down and out politician, so I will try to get publicity. So I think it's not wise to discuss in the public arena such sensitive issue. You can have your own belief. I think any religion, you believe your own religion sincerely, you like to propagate your religion. So that's why it struck me again when there was the anti-Christianity seminar in Johor. So I say it's the reverse of what I'm trying to do. So I think it's sensitive, we shouldn't discuss. So that statement was made last year. I was no more in the MCA hierarchy, I was no more in politics. So it's not when I was MCA. So what is my stand now? Please don't discuss such sensitive issue in a multiracial country, multi-religious country like Malaysia. But it's nothing wrong to engage privately. Or you have a chance to the public, the people you talk to have a chance to ask you back. But in the internet, in the online, when you say something, the other side you have no chance to talk back to you, then you have no chance to explain, and you will definitely be misunderstood. Thank you.
Okay, for the record, I didn't pose a question, and yeah, probably Twitter may not be the best forum to get discuss these sort of issues. There, hopefully, I hope that there will come a stage in our future where we can discuss these things openly, but perhaps within certain parameters. Dr. Saifuddin.
I think corruption starts not only in government, it can even start from the party. And that is why UMNO has amended its constitution to make it almost impossible for money politics to be practiced anymore. Because it is no longer less than 3,000 delegates voting for the Supreme Council member, but it's now 150,000 over members voting, unless you are super rich. But corruption started a long time ago. Perhaps we should also ask a former Minister of Finance who was responsible in distributing pink forms during his days in the government. You know who I'm referring to, but because he's not here, I better don't mention his name, to be fair. I think the government transformation program was bold enough to publicly admit that corruption is one of the biggest problems in the country, and that is why it is one of the first 6 NKRA decided by the Najib administration. Over 900 people have been brought to court on various kinds of corruption practices. Of course, there are so many, and only a few gets more publicity for reasons known only to the media. But I think the future is much better. The fact that we have now the Whistleblowers Act, which protect informants, people who give information on corruption practices, is important. There are people who are now lobbying for the enactment of the Rights to Information Act. Never mind the minister in charge say we don't need it, but there are people in the party who wants it to be enacted. There is this call, even from various national members, for the formation of the law reform commission. A law reform commission basically is appointed by the Yang di-Pertuan Agong. I know to the credit of I think on the Right to Information Act and Law Reform Committee, I think there are probably more Pakatan Rakyat politicians than the end politician supporting it. But it is I think we are moving forward. On the Law Reform Committee, this is about appointing the Agong, appointing respected retired judges, senior lawyers, retired senior lawyers, and law professors and other stakeholders to every time the parliament meets, for them to report to MPs what are laws that needs to be what laws needs to be repealed, what laws needs to be amended, what new laws need to be enacted. And this is one very important way, because mind you, some corruption practices can exist simply because there are too many loopholes in some of the laws that we are having now. You know, it's neither there nor here. So you see refuge in the blur area where the law or the authorities cannot take action. It is neither under this ministry nor under that ministry. and because it is so weak, it is written in that manner. I mean, this is 50 years ago, perhaps some of the laws even older than that. So we need to do this very seriously. Now, finally, I think the fact that we have abolished the emergency ordinance. This coming Monday, we are tabling the amendment to the University and University College Act, though only Section 15, though I'm not 100% fully satisfied. I'm not breaking ranks, but simply saying that we promise more freedom for the media. I think the new two acts replacing ISA will not, at least as promised by Dato Sri Nadine, will never be used against political foes or political rivals. I think these are promising pronouncement and positive and concrete actions forward. What is needed, I think, is for the other stakeholders to keep on to continue with the conversation, because politics is like that. There are times when things are done by design, you know, but there are also times when things are done by default, not because the actor wants it done. That's what I mean by default. You know, it is by design when the actor wants it done, and he or she is very passionate about it. But there are times when the actor has to act on it by default, because the society so want it to be like that. And this is where the role of the other stakeholders come to the front, and we need to keep on this kind of conversation to call for this kind of reform, to call for this kind of improvement. Thank you.
So my question was on race-based policy. So I think the question is more directed at the DAP, because DAP is seen as very much a Chinese chauvinist party. I think that has been the misrepresentation that's painted by the controlled media, fortunately. But of course, we have to admit that when birds of a feather, they flock together. So in the sense that when you have a background base of certain people, for example, who speaks the language, they tend to speak in the language that they are comfortable with. However, generally as a party, it is a multiracial party, and there are practical real-life signs of diversity and inclusiveness. I'll give you an example. I'm a member of the committee of the DAP Youth, the MEK, the Executive Council, and in meetings, we do have multi-race ethnicity, and of course, there's also people like me called OCBC, Orang Cina Bukan Cina, right? So, but what I like to say that even in a room where maybe some of the members from different ethnicity doesn't show up for the meetings, there is diversity and inclusion, meaning that although ethnically all of us can be Chinese of a background, we chair the meetings in Bahasa Malaysia. You'd be surprised, and this is the reality of it. I'm not creating this to create any hype or anything. This is the reality that we face, and I make it a point to share this policy of diversity and inclusiveness, so that, you know, I don't speak Chinese here. Anyways, I can't really speak Chinese very well, anyways. So these are the new breed, I would say. So there is hope in the new generation, and also in the first place, you can join the party to regardless of what background you come from. Okay, with that, I think we've run out of time already for this panel. I'd really like to thank the panelists for sharing their frank and open opinions with us, and also from the members of the floor, as well as from Philadelphia, for sharing their questions with us. Thank you very much.